Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pod Mavericks Mavs party. Really, this is much more of a Mavs adjacent party since the only basketball we've had is FIBA basketball, in which case we had 3 Dallas Mavericks playing today in the Slovenia versus Australia game, ostensibly almost 4 if you would have counted Matisse Thybulle, who the Mavericks tried to sign off. They signed him to an offer sheet. It was a really pretty exciting game for those of you who did not watch it. I want to say tip-off time was like 7:10 Central, and that was a whole bunch of fun. Before we kind of hop right to it, this is our live show where if you are at all interested, you can click here on the comment that is pinned in the YouTube channel. I'll post it again. You can join a waiting room, come up on, what we used to refer to in the Spotify live days as the stage, but hell, it's just talking with me here over a video chat. It's kind of like a work Zoom. We can talk about basically anything you guys want. It's the off season, though we do have some real basketball going. And last week we ended up going for almost 75 minutes. It was a really fun show. But then the week before that, nobody joined, which might be the case today, given the fact that it is a holiday weekend and I didn't know, or holiday weekend here in America, and I didn't know if I was going to do anything. But my work kind of slowed down. And I thought it would be a lot of fun just to kind of hop in here and see, talk about the game for anybody who watched. It is a delightful experience watching these games. I just can't stress this enough. My co-host Josh basically told me, he's like, I'm not watching basketball in the morning. Not because he doesn't want to, just because he's not really a functioning morning guy. And that one really, really entertained me just because it's like, I put it on. Honestly, I don't remember much of the first quarter because I was like getting my kid ready for school. But second, third, and fourth quarter, it was fantastic. We already got one guy in the waiting room. Andrew, going to bring him up just in a second. But for anybody that didn't watch the Slovenia-Australia game, Australia has 8 NBA players or folks who have played in the NBA. Like Dyson Daniels played 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and he's probably their second or third best player. It's very like Joe Ingles, Patty Mills, obviously Dante Exum, Josh Giddey, Matisse Thybulle. It's a pretty it's an experienced group. So the fact that Slovenia kind of came out and punched them in the mouth and never really looked back, I think is really impressive. The refs made it a game, but I do not necessarily think it was a poorly refereed game. I think, listening to the one kind of burly mic'd up ref, he was very frustrated with all of the talking from both teams and essentially let everyone have it kind of equally. Luka got himself into a little bit of trouble where in FIBA rules, and I really think the NBA ought to apply this too, he picked up he heard a whistle and picked up a technical foul because he sort of shot the ball full court. I don't really agree with the technical, but the problem in FIBA basketball, when you get a technical, it counts as a personal foul. That was his third personal because about a minute and a half before, he had picked up a shadow foul call. Josh Green shot a brick of a three and then threw his hand out, kind of like jerked himself back, where in live action, it looked like Luka hit him and Luka just soared past him. Really, really great sell job by Josh Green. The Slovenians had a chance to review that play, but considering it was in the second quarter, they just didn't do so, which is, probably the correct tactical decision. But then right after that, Luka picks up his third foul with, I want to say, 8 minutes left in the second quarter. So at that point, it was like, oh no, is this going to be a game? But one interesting thing, that Luka got reinserted, which was pretty fantastic. And he played a whole bunch this game. Luka ended up, despite foul trouble, he played 28 minutes, which is pretty impressive considering how long he was in foul trouble. And then Slovenia just countered again. The coolest play, the play that's going to be very, very, very Mavs centric. Well, there's probably two, maybe three. I guess the Dante Exum block on one end and then dunk on the other was incredible. I think we're going to be really into Exum. I think he's going to be a fan favorite in a real way next season. And then the Luka Doncic block of Josh Green. And for anybody that has not seen a picture of it, I posted it here a little bit ago. Let me go find it here and we can talk about it. I just want to show the people in the video cast, and then I'll get to the people who are waiting. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me already. For those of you in the video stream, you can see this, and it's really, really funny. Luka, it doesn't really do a great job of explaining. Like if you see him here on the video screen, he is blocking a Josh Green kind of. It's a layup attempt, kind of a short floater. I honestly don't know what Green was doing. But here's the thing about where Luka's coming from. Luka came from the weak side baseline, like he's, an actual honest to God rim protector, and threw Josh Green's stuff way back. It was an incredible defensive play because I think he had 4 fouls at the moment. And this play essentially ignited a run, which put the game out of reach for Australia. And for it to be a defensive play is something I think Mavs fans and obviously, the Slovenian fans really excited about. Luka Doncic has played much more committed defense this time, and it was great. It was great. I've enjoyed watching him play defense. Okay, enough yammering from me. Coming up first is Andrew. Andrew, welcome to the show. Good looking hat you got on there. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I am okay, and I apparently forgot to plug in my headphones. So finding that out in live airtime, I'm just the best podcaster. So what's going on today?
Man, I woke up, I watched the game. I was super excited about it. I just love watching Luka with shooters. If it's just incredible. Like you were just talking about, his defense has just been a marvel compared to what we saw last year. And so like the steal numbers have been really good so far. I've been really impressed with that. And, just overall defensive effort, it's beautiful to see. And it makes me even more hyped for Mavs season.
So the effort element, I actually sent this to a couple of friends this morning. Cause I'm like, am I just really tired, or is Luka playing well? And Iztok Franco responded to me that like the effort is there. And I think that's all most of us really want is the effort. And for me, at least on defense, I've seen a lot less Luka chirping. I mean, the whole Slovenian team talks the whole time. So it's pretty funny to just see all of them yelling at the refs. But the effort, that's all you can really ask for. The Slovenian team is undersized, and so they have to have the effort. It has to start with all their best players. And they did. I just thought they did. This is 2 games. Well, the Georgia game was like an excellent execution of game plan and intentionality, because the way I think you beat the Slovenians is you crash the offensive boards and you just outsize them. And so far it hasn't happened.
No, I totally agree. And that's it felt like the effort wasn't there in Eurobasket last year or whenever that was in the one.
The Poland game was like it's like they had to. There's some, I don't know how reliable this was. There was like some reporting that they had a great time the night before. And
Yep.
there have been they look energized every single game.
Yep. And I kind of thought they did the same thing for the Cape Verde game at first. Was like, that was my initial thought when I saw kind of the score and I woke up and saw all that. But it seems like they got that out of our system. So super excited for them moving forward. And I mean, the draw after the Canada loss is going to be fun, man.
Did you watch that one? I have a little bit of a stake in the Brazil team, and because I just enjoy watching them, and I know one of their players. That was a shocking loss. They got like Dylan Brooks letting a little 5'10" guy get to the rim on repeat. I personally enjoyed it, but it was really surprising to see Canada kind of falter like that.
Absolutely. And I mean, Shea has been the second best player in this tournament behind Luka. And so it's crazy to see them not do, or like just not beat a team they should beat, since they have all that NBA talent.
That's right.
Dylan Brooks, and I mean, even Barrett, and like Powell's plus minus is crazy good for them somehow. Like Powell playing great minutes. They should have won that game.
Yep. It's shocking. It throws kind of the whole tournament in a little bit of conundrum, because I think you could have said before that game, and I was talking about this with Meta Robinson, who is over in Europe, and she's watching these games like we are, and we're trying to figure out what happens next before Canada lost, because we're just assuming Canada is going to win. Does Slovenia really like go out against Germany? Like, what do they do? And now I think it throws. I honestly have not looked at the seeding closely enough. I worked until about 45 minutes ago. But you have to think they just try to go out and beat Germany as well to get the best possible like seeding for the next element of the tournament, right?
Yeah, not only that, it's just like Luka loves to beat up on Dennis Schroeder. Like, I mean, I can't imagine him not going full force against them unless it's like a injury safety play. And I mean, those guys, the way he's playing, they want to win. Like, I don't see him.
I haven't considered Schroeder. That's a great point.
And
everybody hates Schroeder. It's shocking.
Even Maxey doesn't get along with him. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that drama, but everybody, right, like you said, hates Schroeder. But to jump kind of back over to Australia, like,
sure,
the green defense on ball, love it. Even though he was getting switched off on the screen every time, I still thought he looked really good. He sat in the corner a bit too much on offense, which I wish they had used him as more actively in the offense, not just sitting in the corner to shoot threes and stuff like that. I thought Exum forced it a bit too much today. Like, he was going a little too fast. I am a little concerned about the jumper, which I know is his big concern why he fell out of the league the first time. But
it's for him. I think it's catch and shoot for the Mavs. I'm not really worried about him doing anything off the dribble, because Luka and Kyrie are going to have the ball so much. So it's like, can you catch and shoot? I do think the green of it all is really worth discussing, because I think they were matching he and Luka's minutes.
Yeah, it was really bizarre, I thought, especially with Luka in foul trouble and just
that did Josh a huge disservice, because he scored 8 points in the first half, and most of them I think were on free throws. And he's such a, like, for a younger guy, I don't even think is he 21? He's so young though, that I think there's an element of rhythm really mattering to his confidence. And if you're going to try to match minutes with what Luka's doing, unless he was in foul trouble, and I don't really think he was. Let me go look here.
No, I don't believe he was. Josh Green's 22, by the way.
Yeah, so he's young, but he's still young enough in terms of games played to where I'm not. Yeah, he had 2 personal fouls the whole game. He played 24 minutes. I mean, it's not like I'm asking him to play 35, but I think you could have played him a flat 30, get some more offense out of him. I mean,
absolutely.
He's such a. He's just that not like I think about the show 30 Rock an awful lot. He's like the third Heat for a lot of lineups, where he makes things weird in a way that's hard to describe unless you're watching. And he does enough good stuff where it's like, I really would have liked to seen him play a little more. And I really think the Australia would have too, because I'm looking at some of the minutes decisions, and I'm just like, why is Dyson Daniels playing 2 minutes? Dyson Daniels would have caused chaos against Slovenia.
Yep. I mean, they could have gone like super small with, Dyson, Green, Patty, and, some of their other guards, and like
Patty
one
Mills. Big. I love that I have the opportunity to hate Patty Mills on so many different teams.
It's so great.
That grifting, like all sorts of people were really mad that Luka picked up that fourth foul with him diving in front. It was so for people that didn't watch, Patty Mills gets a ball on a fast break. Luka's jogging up or not jogging, he's trying to get back on defense. And Patty, like if Luka's going this way, Patty basically pulls a Chris Paul, cuts in front of him, and then stops, and Luka runs him over. And it's the kind of play on thing you got it. I mean, I understand why they called it, but I also hate it because it's like it was so intentional. So it's grifting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the classic, like you said, Chris Paul, Trae Young kind of foul, and it's just so blatant. And I knew what they were trying to do and get Luke out of there. Like it was a smart tactical decision, but you just hate to see it. It's so frustrating. And to me, like even though Patty had like a decent scoring game, I didn't feel like all of his shots were like great choices. I didn't feel super efficient as I was watching the game.
Pretty rough.
Yeah. It's like, okay, he had that one spot relocate 3 in the corner. I was like, okay, yeah, he should make that, and he did. But, you know, like you said, it's super nice rooting against him year after year. Question about Exum, though. Is the playmaking, like, I was getting really, really hyped about Exum going into the year. This made me just kind of temper my expectations and pump the brakes, not even on the shooting, but the, maybe third ball handler off the bench role.
I mean, considering the options the Mavericks cycled through last year, I'm just looking forward to something different. And so if it doesn't work out, it's a minimum for a guy who has a high pedigree. That's actually been one of Josh Bowe and I's criticisms for 10 years, is the Mavericks haven't had dudes with pedigree. And now they have a lot of guys that were drafted highly. And, sometimes it just doesn't work. But it's that element of Exum's game where, he was really important to the team he played for last year. I think the shooting might be – I really do. I think it's real. And that part excites me. If the ball handling is what it is, I lived through Wes Matthews – so it's like after watching that dude, do the Stanley, I can't. Sure. I'm fine. I'm kind of fine with it.
And also, like they were hyping up Frank as a potential ball handler, so I'll take Exum over Frank all day.
That's a great comparison point because Frank could only go in a straight line, and I think Exum's a lot more dynamic than that.
Yep, absolutely. And Frank gave us those great minutes in the Sun series, but really, that's it. I just think the upside's way, way higher with Exum. So 1,000%, I'm on board with that.
That's right. Andrew, thanks so much for kicking us off. You got anything else?
I just can't believe the hype I'm already having from the Mavs offseason moves, like just in general, the Grant Williams, the whole 9 yards of it. I'm just ready for it.
It feels great. We got 6 weeks from now is basically the last Mavs preseason game. It's on October 20th. Basketball, Dallas basketball is here much faster than we realize. So if you're like me and you love watching it, but it's also can be a bit of a grind, get your rest in the next several weeks because we're going to be in for a ride this year.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, man.
Talk soon. All right, coming up next. Well, before we come up next, let's just if you could take just a minute and roll on down there, move your mouse. If you're on your phone, look for that big thumbs up button. If you could just take a second and hit, like the stream, that thing helps. When a bunch of y'all are clicking it at once, you see all of a sudden you see other people. I don't really know how it works, but it's fantastic. I'd appreciate that. And then if you have an opportunity, go ahead. If you aren't already, go ahead and subscribe to Pod Maverick. I was trying to explain to somebody that didn't know I do this, which is, I'm a shameless self-promoter, so that's hard to believe. It's like, hey, in the season, Josh and I will record as many as 8 times. That's probably too much. It's probably too much, but I want to talk about basketball. So, hey, we're going to talk about basketball. All right.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy and streamlined so I can spend more time on the rest of my business. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Saturday, Christmas comes early, only on Peacock.
Unbelievable!
Bills, Chargers, an exclusive NFL game live in primetime. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, exclusively on Peacock.
Coming up next is repeat listener and show joiner Brian. What's going on today, man?
Unmuting myself. That's what.
There you go.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, dude. Having a good Friday. Going into a 3-day weekend. Awesome Luka defensive performance, which not very often you get to say that, but he's been so good defensively, especially as a team defender this entire tournament. And also get to laugh at Tim Bontemps and Bill Simmons.
Which part? Let's hear it.
The what was that? I think both of them were holding strong on that. Shea's the best player in the tournament.
Ooh, yeah. I teased Timmy about that one a little bit, though. I got to admit, I so love SGA's game.
I do too.
I just have a hard. It's like because they're both first team guards, and then you look at like it was Bleacher Report, I think, put out their top 20 players, and Shai's like 12. I'm like, that ain't right. Like that, it's there's some real like I think we're gonna see some real jumps from certain players this year. I like not to be. It's like Tatum and like Durant. Like so, I think it was like LeBron, Durant, and Steph were like 6, 7, 8 in those rankings, and a lot of people are outraged. It's like LeBron's 40 years old. What do we? Kevin has played 17 years already.
Yeah, I was about to say Kevin's the one that I'm like, hey man, look at Kevin Durant's last couple playoff appearances. You put that pressure on him, you lay wood on him, bro. Look kind of stinky.
Compared to what for me, he's like my fourth favorite player because I've mentioned this before, but for any old heads, Kevin Durant was must-watch basketball in college. He was the last guy other than Zion who I'm watching that guy. The next one is going to be the white boy from Maine going to Duke.
Yeah, but hey, that kid is crazy. Yeah, I can't wait to see him on the
I've directed you off of 3 tangents already. So okay, they were all in on Shai. It is Shai.
I don't know if it's Shai. I always say Shai.
I don't want to mess it up. He's too good. He's too good a player to butcher a name. Gilius Alexander, SGA. I'm gonna stick with that.
Now. Yeah, that works.
So I agree that's kind of an interesting take from them. I mean, Luka feels so inevitable. When we're watching him his rookie year and he puts up 26 and 7, you remember how excited you were? It's like, man, this guy, by the time he's 28, he's going to be killing people. And then the next year, he's all NBA first team.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I haven't seen anybody come into the league like fat and just do this. And because that's the funny thing that some people don't remember about his rookie year. When he got here, he was chunky, noticeably chunkier than he was in his last season with Real Madrid. He played himself into shape, and then he was in great shape his second year. Mm-hmm. But the rookie season, he had a little double chin, but we were like, you know what?
He was tired.
Destitute.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the other thing. He'd taken some time off because he played so much basketball just before the season started. That's why he didn't even play Summer League. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we were just so destitute and so desperate at that point. We were just like, dude, there's a good basketball player on our team. I don't care what shape you're in. Just show up and play and we'll apply.
It was amazing. So it's like, I think the reason you're getting these kind of takes, even though despite his age, you're starting to see these takes because, number one, a lot of people have sort of decided they don't like heliocentric basketball, which is a defensible position. The other issue is that Luka has made an All-NBA team 4 straight years. First team All-NBA 4 straight years in a row.
No doubter, too. Like, you'll see maybe one or two people leave him off the ballot.
That's right. That's right. Even when I've tried to play devil's advocate and I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be on an All-NBA team, everybody's like, shut up. What are you talking about? And it's a real thing where I think there's a little bit of like Luka fatigue in the sense of he's so good. And then when you regress as a team like the Mavericks did this year, it's really easy to write them off. Because one thing I think that's happening in hindsight is the 2021-22 team that went to the Western Conference Finals is getting kind of overrated in hindsight. They were good, but they also caught fire. Like there's an element of that where they found a thing that works at the right time. And that's important. But it's not like they were an 82-game juggernaut. Like that's just not how the team functioned. They traded KP midway through, and everything worked out. And so I think there's like the narrative around Luka is a little boring for people at this point. So when you go to the World Cup and he's far and away the best player, and I still think that even compared to Shea, and there is like an ad campaign around him in FIBA. If you're a national pundit that has to do this stuff all the time, you're kind of looking for the new thing. And SGA is probably that new thing.
Yeah, shiny new toy syndrome. It's fine. I get it. It's just
I do too.
People don't want to admit that that's what it is, and it's fine. Again, I love Shea. I've been a huge fan of it since Kentucky.
Yep.
I always thought that it was kind of foolish of the Clippers to trade him away, even for Paul George, who I also think is a great player.
Yep.
I thought that he was going to be great, even when Chris Paul tried to rub his loser stink off on him.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of his entire career, even when those OKC teams were stinky. I was like, that dude is good. I don't care
they had to keep
what you surround him with.
They had to keep resting him with fake injuries because he would hurt their chances.
Don't let us hear you say that.
I don't really. I want to see the best basketball possible. I also want Slovenia to get as far as they can. So it's like, on the one hand, I want to see Canada play Slovenia soon, or at all. On the other hand, I don't want Slovenia to have to play Canada because, I mean, this is one of the things that we haven't talked about because we're Luka Doncic fans, and I think we enjoy Slovenia. But you and I in particular, we talk about this stuff. There's like 4 teams in this tournament I really enjoy watching. So I'm not exactly like a Slovenia Superman. One of the things that's been kind of undercovered here on our side of things is Team Slovenia is down 2 important players. There's Kankar and then another guy.
Yeah, Vlaco. Yeah, that sucks, man.
And like that, so you're watching them do this against these great big teams. I mean, when they played Georgia, my wife was like, "Oh no, look at those guys," because like Goga is just a monster. And they just don't have any size. Like Toby and Luka are the big guys, and so for them to go up against Canada and some of Canada's size does not. Even if I'm not talking about Dwight Powell, I'm kind of more talking about like the guard size and some of the other optionality that they have.
Yeah, like that point of attack and then wing defenders.
That's tough. That's real tough. Like I might make fun of Dylan Brooks, but he's a pretty damn good defender at the end of the day.
Look, but here's the thing though: how tough is it? Because they just let Simone Fontecchio light them up for like 30 and 7.
That was wild.
And then Dylan Brooks played the worst defense I've ever seen him play on back-to-back possessions to close the game.
He had the look on his face like after LeBron spoke to him against the Lakers, where he was.
Well,
like,
he was.
Oh no.
He could hear LeBron yelling in the back of his mind, man. You could see it. That brother was bamboozled.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't believe it. And by the way, just to go back to something real quick, man, shout out to Mike Toby. He put his big boy pants on today. Mm-hmm. He was dominating Australia for some of those stretches. Like, I know that they like to play small and fast because that plays to their advantage in the athleticism that they have. Mm-hmm. Or it would if their coach wasn't, running around and tricking y'all and leaving Josh on the bench and leaving Dyson Davis on the bench and letting Joe Ingles go out there and do some shit that.
And I like Ingles. Ingles was bad today. Ingles was actively bad today.
Horrible. And Patty Mills, I love Patty Mills, but Patty was leaning way too much into the old man tricks, bro. He could have sat his ass down too for all that stuff he was out there doing.
Dante, Patty, and Joe Ingles combined to go 9 of, what is it here? 9 of 29.
Yeah, bro, come on. Like what are we doing?
Can't do that.
That didn't make no sense. The one game where Thibault is hitting his threes too. That's funny.
They took him out after that last made three, but I think it was Istok who pointed this out during the game. Whenever Thibault was in, Luke was just like, I'm going to the paint and I'm going to stand here. And so, not to make this about the Mavs, but it is a Mavs podcast. When I saw that, and I've been really arrogant about this, I'm sitting here going, that's why you don't sign Thibault. Why would you sign a guy if that's what happens to him?
Yeah, if I can watch you make 2 threes or like
And
make
you
a big
care.
3 in a pivotal moment, and everybody's like, all right, that's fine, do it again. Right to your face.
He also, shout out to him, the 14 minutes played. Guess how many rebounds?
Thibault?
0.
Oh, you know it, because that dude is 6'5" and skinny and not looking to box anybody else.
No. Like every time, I still remember looking, and I just didn't know this, because it's like he was an all defensive player guy, but he averages 2 boards a game. That's hard to do.
Look, bro, if I speak, big trouble. Big
That's okay.
trouble. Them all defensive teams would
No,
fake
it's
as hell.
weird. I mean, let's remember Sean Marion never made an all defensive team. Sometimes I
Yeah,
don't know
but
what to do
like,
with these sorts of things.
Come on, man. Kobe making them after 3 years after he had stopped playing defense and shit. Like, respect to Kobe, but come on. Like,
I nearly made a very inappropriate joke, but I'm not going to. So,
Kirk,
what else are you thinking from this game?
Man, who was the other dude? It was Nikolic, I think, the one who was hitting all the threes.
Somebody tweeted something on my timeline, and like, guys, I am not going to be disrespectful to the Slovenian guys, but they have a guy who does something every game who I'm like, who the hell is that?
I think it's Prepelic.
I mean, because there's two of them,
like the elbow band or like the arm band and the.
They shot the hell out of the ball. They only shot 13 of 42 from 3, but the fact that they still managed to connect on a ton of 2s, they were 47% from the floor with some of the shots they were taking. I'm really impressed with the coach too, because who's the other big man besides Mike Tobey?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I forgot the dude's name.
Is it Dimmick?
Something with a D.
IMEC. Ziga Dimmick? Is that him? No.
Yes.
It is. He only played 10 minutes. That destroyed him every time he made a mistake. It was like that's who it is, Andrew. Thank you. It was every time you go to the sideline, even the announcers were talking about it. It felt bad for the guy. Like reminded me of whenever I used to play basketball. I'm really curious to see how far these guys get, because if they get knocked out in the next round, it's still like a triumph, because again, country with 2 million people. 2 million.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's an underdog story, and it's pretty cool.
They're an underdog story every time, and that's I had a friend who's there, he was just who's there, and he's just like, and he doesn't really like Slovenia in terms of how they play basketball.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, man, but look at what they do with what they have. This is it's not Luka and the Lukettes. That's what they get called by Americans like us, but it's like, I've watched four games now, I think, where I've seen really incredible team efforts, like hustle plays, all sorts of stuff. It's not, it's not like the Mavericks. We keep on making these comparisons. Oh, it's like the Mavericks last year. It's like, I'm sorry,
dude. If the Mavericks got after like the defensive boards the way that these dudes did at like the size disadvantage that they have, like
that's right,
guards and their wings, gang rebounding and swatting the hell out of the ball, trying to get it into somebody's hands so they can start a fast break. If we did that, we wouldn't have worried about being.
That's right.
Playing. We would have been in the 2021.
The 2021-22 Mavericks were like this, and that's why they made the Western Conference Finals. Last year's Mavericks did not. I don't want to say they didn't have any heart, because that's not fair, but they didn't have any juice, and they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, the dudes who had the heart, they didn't have the juice in their legs to really make it happen. Dorian, his legs was kind of cooked all year from everything that we put on him the year before. Same with Reggie, and it's cool to watch these dudes play, because they play with a lot of passion. They play with like energy that is actually focused and has intent, and doesn't just seem like they're spastic out there just trying to make anything happen. Like if you'll watch, I lost the team that I was going to talk about. Okay, so I just won't be slanderous right now. But no, I've enjoyed watching them play. I thought that I think Nikolic is the name of the guy I was thinking of. He carried them in the stretches that Luka was out, just with his shot making. You said they only made like 13 threes. I guarantee he made at least 4 of them, like from the corners and from the wings. And yeah, he was really good this game. Mike Tobey was really good in this game. And they were doing whatever the hell they could to just keep Australia off the offensive glass because they knew that, like, with the speed that they had, if they got like a bunch of second and third chances, they were just going to run them out of it. And they
I thought
almost
that
did.
was going to happen. There were a couple of plays where they kept getting repeated possessions and they just couldn't put it down. They kept creeping, credit to Australia for like continually fighting back, which was something, because they were down double digits like in the first quarter. So you get down like that, it's really, you obviously don't tuck tail, but sometimes it's hard to bounce back. And they bounced back probably 4 different times where I was like, okay, here's when the Australians are going to come. Oh, look, they're making shots. They're getting right there. And it's a 6, that was the other part about the Slovenian coaching staff is I thought really excellent use of timeouts to kind of, settle down type stuff.
To stop the bleeding of some of these runs. Yeah, and they made one where like they tied it up. And I was like, yeah, this is where it's going to happen. Slovenia about to give up the ghost. And then I looked, and Luka was on the bench for foul trouble, and Josh was on the bench, even though he was leading Australia in scoring and was also their best defender. Yep. And it's going to keep coming back to that for me. The Australian coach was running around and tricking, and he kind of tricked off this game.
That happened, yeah.
Because they had it, I feel like.
That's great. Well, Brian, what else are you thinking? Anything?
Man, I can't wait till we just get to blast the lips off of Dennis Schroeder's face. I say I'm talking about Slovenia.
That's fine.
I can't wait until they play.
We can all be. I hope that the Slovenians will accept us against the Germans.
Yeah, I just I hate it because I love Franz, and Dennis actually had a really good year in the NBA too last year. Like sneakily, it's just nobody likes him as a person. So
I mean, if you were to do if you were to do an international team, like a starting 5. I think Franz is your 2 guard.
I think Franz is a starter. Yeah. He's so fun.
Like Luka, Franz. I guess Giannis be your power forward. Jokic is your center. Who's the other? There's somebody like
the other wing.
Who's your other wing? There's an obvious one. Do we count Canada in this? Because I think if you count Canada in this, maybe you put Shea as 2 guard and Franz as your small forward.
I'd roll with that.
Yeah, I mean that's all. That's why it's like anytime they'll never do it, nor should they do it, because I don't think it would actually work. But I love the concept of like a just for once for an all-star game, world versus
just like
USA.
A real world versus USA, yeah. And then
just
especially while we have 5 of the 6 best players in the league are not from the US. I think
right, really and the other like the next 5 are like the previous generation's older Americans because it's like the guys that are coming Book. Obviously these guys, they're so good. It's a different level. It's just kind of luck to a certain extent.
Yeah, Tempest with flair after that ass kicking.
That's right. It's my favorite. I love angry basketball. You thinking anything else for what are you gonna do this weekend? Anything good?
Dude, this weekend, Lil Cousin's got a soccer game. Gonna see if I can tip through that. Otherwise, I'm gonna watch basketball and drink.
Good.
And maybe eat barbecue, but definitely drink.
That's good. Yeah, I you guys all know I play video games, and I think I've been ignoring Starfield when it was coming out because I was like, I still want to keep my job here at Mavs Moneyball because I think if I start, it's like if I was to play one of these really, and you'll just lose me for like 4 months at a time. And this stuff always comes out right at the start of basketball season. It's like,
most inconvenient times.
Can we do it in April when the Mavericks are shit and I hate covering them? So that way I could go do something else. Oh, well. Man, thanks so much for hanging out. We'll talk soon, all right?
Of course, dude. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, we got another one of my guys. My guy Christian just joined the show down there. Hey, man, what's up?
Yo, Kirk, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Thank you for joining. Just watching. Watching a little hoop earlier this morning, overreacting to basketball, having a great time.
Sounds about right. Got a question for you. Are you a little bit surprised that Australia got put out? Or not put out, but they lost to Slovenia?
No, because I think, that's kind of the why everyone loves not like single elimination, because that's still part of the deal. But
yeah,
it's why you love these one-up matchups, because anything can happen in 40 minutes. I was listening to Chuck Cooperstein, Dallas Mavericks radio guys, like all these games need to be 48 minutes. They're men. They should be playing 48 minutes. The perk of a 40-minute game is an underdog has a better chance to win. Like if the longer you stretch the games over more period of time, the better team has more opportunities to score. So I don't know. I'm loving it though. I would say that I'm not surprised. I am surprised that I really felt like Slovenia dominated, with the exception of
Yep.
refs kind of, and really Slovenia made mistakes, but it's like Australia didn't do anything to put out Slovenia. Like they did nothing to stop Luka, and they did nothing really to control the game. That surprised me.
That part too. Like I wasn't expecting it to be as competitive as it was at first. Just simply, I mean, Slovenia's undefeated. Like they're 4-0 now, right? But who do you think is worse, like FIBA refs or NBA refs? Because I think it's real close for me.
I mean, there's an interpretation of the rules thing that goes on, where I thought today's ref really frustrated me, but then I understood why, because there was so much chatter going on. I think we're the NBA, and I was talking to second Meta shout out of the podcast. Meta and I were talking about this. I think where the NBA suffers is its application of rules doesn't make any fucking sense. With FIBA stuff, you will get bad refs that make bad calls, but I don't understand from a philosophical point of view how if you're on the perimeter and they touch you, it's vehicular manslaughter, or no, it's like you get nothing, and yet you go into the paint and you could get killed and they'll just look at you. And I don't like that. I would like a foul is a foul regardless of where you are on the floor. And that stuff is what I've enjoyed about the FIBA basketball. And then I felt that the physicality is consistently applied from game, like from quarter to quarter, where you are on the court and from game to game.
And you see, I guess it's one of my differences with people the last couple of years with FIBA play versus NBA play. Like, oh my God, people are allowed to be so physical, all this other stuff. I'm like, bro, you might like 90s basketball, but I didn't invite you to go play back in that era. Guys are getting hammered across the head, hit in the neck. Like, that's not safe, man. It's not.
Sure. No, and there's parts of that happen on drives today. Like Luka got killed on one, and you could see both Australian players were not, they weren't like, oh, that wasn't a foul. They're genuinely shocked that it was a foul call because the body contact, like Green was really bumping Luka at times. And that's just the rules thing. And I'm okay with it. I don't know. It goes back and forth until you see somebody hit the ground really hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like luckily that didn't happen too many times today, but
yeah,
I mean, it's gonna happen regardless. But as far as the foul trouble, what did you think about that for Luka?
So the fact that the tech counts as a personal foul is something that I really like about FIBA. It screwed Luka particularly today, but it's also an incentive to not get a fucking technical foul. So that part was interesting. I think that he got hosed a little bit, but a couple of bang things like the Josh Green, they should have used their challenge on that, but I understand why they didn't, because there was, I think, 28 minutes of basketball still left in the game because he didn't foul Josh on a 3-point shot. But sometimes it's just going to happen. And the coach was really gutsy, and Luka played really smart defense the rest of the way. I cannot believe he didn't foul out.
Me either, honestly. Like, I mean, he finished up with, I think it was 27-6 or something like that. Do you think you're going to get or it's all said and done?
Do I think he's going to get what? You cut out for a moment.
Oh, I said, do you think he's going to get a triple-double before play is all over?
No, it's really difficult. The pace has to be higher than it's been these past few games. You just got to get chances at boards. And I suppose if they played Canada, maybe, and the scores and things are running, there's a chance, but it's hard. It's hard to do. He's playing probably 36, 37 minutes a game.
Yep.
There's the opportunity, but I think you're going to have to get the, I would say the assists are probably not for Luka. Maybe the rebounds are the hardest part, because the Slovenian team is really, like, they're doing a great job with team boards.
That and the fact that, like, at least on offense, there's a lot of standing around, I guess, waiting for the pass because it's coming.
Yeah.
But one thing I've really enjoyed about the games I have seen from them is the active cutting. Like, a lot of teams have struggled with that, at least through the first couple of games, but they really haven't, honestly, and that's been one of their strong suits.
They're the cutting to the hoop. Some of the things where Luka's finding guys, and really not just Luka, it's all their playmakers finding guys at different points in the floor is really, it's fascinating to watch. It's there's just part of why Luka does what he does within the Mavericks is it's a Luka post up is the on a point per possession basis, it's the best play in basketball. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just not that fun to watch after a while. That said, I hope that they're taking some elements of what works for them, meaning the Mavericks, what is working for the Slovenian team, and maybe they can apply some of the principles to what they do as a team, because this all starts and ends with what Luka wants to do. And he's a talented basketball player. He doesn't need the ball to be talented. He was an off-ball player for most of his Real Madrid days. Obviously, you'd use him kind of more like a scalpel. It's interesting that the Mavericks have Kyrie Irving on the team, because I think, and I would love to see like Luka in a Kyrie kind of role where he could, just come in and hammer for a few moments at a time and not have to dominate the entire offense. But again, 32, 8, and 8 last year. Kind of hard to argue with the numbers. It's just the results are where things get dicey.
And before I got, I guess it's kind of why I'm not really confused, but sometimes I do get a little ticked off and people say, well, why can't he play like this play back when he comes home, or the defense or the passing? Why can't he like play off ball? And it's like, before Kyrie came, could you say that he trusted anybody with the ball in their hands?
No.
That plays a part into it. You can't have one without the other, man.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully he'll figure some of it out. I mean, every time he cuts in a game, the defense panics. It's like, oh shit, Luka's moving. Oh no. And it's that's the point. That's why you cut.
So. The pass is coming. Just go to the rim. He'll find you, man.
Yeah, well, but even if it's not, I mean, Luka cutting though, it's him causing chaos by moving around. So, well, thank you, man. You got anything else?
No, sir. Just hopefully, that he comes back rejuvenated and doesn't gain that weight that he lost.
Hey, if you're at the Wings game on Sunday, I am in the first row of the rafters up above, right at center court. So look for
I'll text you close to the game time.
Look for my big ugly head. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Thank you, man.
That is Christian. He writes for Mavs Moneyball, and he does our Wings coverage, though he will also be doing some Mavericks coverage this year. So I'm looking forward to that. We got a couple. Oh, we just have Leo hanging out here. So let's go with Leo. Hey, Leo. Thanks for joining again. What's up today?
Feeling a little bit bold with my Josh Green takes. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Tell me why you're feeling bold, because that was a very, I think Josh got screwed by the coach kind of game.
It did. I mean, it's not as much as like the points on the board and the rebounds. It was just like his confidence. That man let that ball fly. That so-called 3-point foul that Luka had on him, he shot that thing quick.
Oh, and then he had the wherewithal to fake the flop like that. He's like, Luka got my hand. That's great. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the Josh Green experience. I unfortunately think that the block that Luka had on him is like, Luka's going to put that up in Josh's locker and be mean to him about that until the end of time. But that's what friends do.
Well, it's payback for the Olympics. If I remember correctly, Josh placed his bronze medal in Luka's locker room, didn't he?
God, you're right. Great callback.
And he also made Luka wear his jersey the first game back. I remember because Luka had like his beanie on top of his face. He was embarrassed as hell.
These are great takes. Good memory, Leo. I forgot all this stuff.
Well, and like it's not even just Josh, it's Exum. It's the fact that these guys that we actually picked up might be playable players, and it's not going to be like, oh, it's Exum on the floor. I feel terrible. It looks good. The dude looks like a competent player. And again, bold with my Josh Green takes, but that defense looked good. Like, again, they were always double teaming, but he held his feet. He wasn't fouling, and he was drawing fouls. He was forcing Luka to foul him during the defense. Like, the first 2 fouls that Luka picked up in the game were in the first quarter against Josh.
Yep. I think these are fair takeaways. I think if you are getting excited about either or both Australian Mavericks basketball players, you have plenty of reason to.
And I'm going to crucify the Mavericks. How the hell were you going to start Thibault over Josh?
See, that's where I don't understand. I really don't understand that whole process. I no other way. I'm glad he didn't sign, because I think we would have hated him almost immediately.
And speaking of hated him almost immediately, what the hell is Mark Cuban doing?
I'm going to say that I didn't really have much of a problem with anything he said on that podcast. It's not anything he hasn't said before. And we're talking about it was the Patrick Beverly podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He frustrates people. I think where I am, I'm further along on the Mark Cuban frustrates me timeline than every other Mavs fan, because he's a good owner who has good intentions, who cannot help himself. And then there are times where it's just like, because he really did. He talked about that stuff like he is running the team. That was the thing I think which grates a lot of people. He talks about him doing stuff, and it's off-putting for people because we all kind of think the general manager's running the team and Mark's just owning it. But here's what it is. He's gonna overshoot sometimes, but I one thing I do agree with him on. He talked about how everybody called him crazy for buying the Mavericks in 2000. He is right about that. That was in the papers. That was everywhere. Like, I remember my folks talking about this. It was a crazy concept. So, he gets to have the occasional victory lap. They'll never admit to their mistakes because that's not how they operate. But what are you gonna do?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. I'll be getting
Sure,
off.
man.
But I do have one last question for you.
Yeah, of course.
Did you ever finish Breath of the Wild with your kid?
No, we're still playing. We're we're going counterclockwise on the map, and we started off playing against the Zora, and then we went directly to the volcano. But I'm trying to explain to him as we're playing this game. Number one, it's like you want to go off the beaten path. And number two, a lot of the puzzle based stuff, it takes him some time. Like, I don't solve everything for him. So we might play 90 minutes a week. So like at this rate, we will finish in like a year or two. And that's okay. It's a great game.
I would say if you want to make it a bit easier on him, skip the Goron and go to the Wind place.
So we did the Goron. We beat that guy.
Oh, you actually finished the volcano?
This is just really nerdy shit. I beat Fireblight Ganon on my first try, and he thinks I'm like the best video game player alive. So
okay, I hate you. I couldn't do that. I was like 18 and I couldn't do that.
I don't know how. I just got him. I just and then I tried again because I'm doing a parallel playthrough just for me because I'm like seeing more stuff, and I couldn't do it. So I just must have been on my bullshit that day.
I just kept on using the exploding arrows, and every time I pull it, I'm like, why does it keep exploding on me?
That's right. It's fire.
Stupid.
I hate that. Like, actual logic. What are you going to do? All right, man. Talk soon.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
All right. Coming up last is a friend of the program, Rolo. Do not crash your car, Rolo. What's going on, buddy?
I'm parked, man, so I'm good. How's it going?
It's good. What are you thinking today? Were you able to catch any of the game? I know you were following along on the Twitters with some folks.
Yeah, man. So just a couple of things real quick. Who were you rooting for? Which team were you rooting for? Slovenia? I was rooting for both, so
yeah.
I was hoping Josh and Exum would have good games, which I think for the most part, they did have decent games. And then of course, obviously Luka and Slovenia. I think we've all become honorary Slovenians, right? Whenever we're following along. So I think the biggest thing for them is the disappointment from, the last, the Olympics, so I think that they're just kind of carrying a chip on their shoulder this year in FIBA, and
that's right.
So, but yeah, man, I mean, it's been fun to watch some of these World Cup games. Last thing I'll bring up is Mr. McGee, the waving and stretching of McGee. How are you feeling, brother?
Pretty good. I got out most of my takes on it last week.
Okay.
So, at this point, I'm much more amused by Kings people doing the same thing everybody else does, like talking themselves into it, and getting excited about the possibility of a shot blocker. And it's just like that. He's not that dude. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's like but I think that for what they're needing him for, I think he'll probably fit in a little bit better than what the Mavericks were needing him for. You know? So I think it's going to work out.
He's not a starter there, so your expectations change, but it's just
Right.
God, I just got another angle from the NBA account posted another angle of the Luka shot block of Josh Green, and it's Luka doing that is crazy. It's great. It's such a great.
you tweeted earlier something about you waited like an hour before you said something about that he went up a week with that shot or something like that. Josh Green went up, and that's what Luka was able to get up and swat it away or whatever. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty clever. So, but yeah, man, I just wanted to jump on here real quick and say hey, and yeah, man, I'm just following along with FIBA. Well, I've been lifing lately, so just trying to keep up with that and see when we're gonna get these 77 spaces jumping again. So
sure. All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Brother. Appreciate it, man. See ya.
All right. So there's a comment in the chat from one of our viewers, DJ. He says, I think the NBA is boring because the defense is so bad in the NBA. This is not an uncommon criticism. I don't necessarily think that defense is bad in so much as that the rules are weighted so heavily in favor of offensive players paired with specific players almost breaking the game, the rules, and exploiting some of these things to where you're able to playing defense is just sometimes not worth it to a degree. I mean, the best teams always have a really good defense, and that's important. But I can see why you'd feel that way, DJ, particularly after watching some of these games. All right, team, this was a lot of fun. Before I get out of Dodge here, I got a mailbag question that I got. Let's see. I'm going to post our email. It's podmaverickpodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to send us an email, I will try to answer all questions and these sorts of things. I like talking with folks. So we got an email from Jeff, and he says he's talking about basically how you go to appreciate Dirk adding a dimension to his game each summer. Besides Luka's free throws, what specific skills do you want specific players to improve on that would benefit them the most this year? Obviously, Luka's defense would be huge. Just the effort element. If he can do that for, 65, 75 games, I think that would be massively important. Jeff goes on to say, I think if Tim were able to complete a breakaway or if Josh Green's shooting off ball movement would go a long way to lift the ceiling of this team. I will say Josh Green having a left hand at the rim might help. Specific player stuff is interesting because it's like, some of the guys are just not going to improve in the ways that we want them to. I think considering that there's going to be 2 rookies, hopefully within the rotation, that will be interesting. I'm very curious to see how this new group vibes together. And so the specific skill stuff, I don't have a lot of great takes on at the moment because I want Luka to play better defense. I would love for Powell to be able to not do some of the weird stuff he does, but it's, at the moment, I don't know. This is a good one. We'll all have to think about this and get back, even though it was a mailbag question, and I did have time to think about it. It's something I think is interesting. All right, team. Please remember to go ahead and write. Go ahead and write some comments, like the show. Send me emails. Rate and review the show. All that stuff is very helpful to me. I also like talking with all of you guys. Josh and I will probably be back on Tuesday night like we've been doing, but we're inching closer and closer to the regular season. And I think we'll probably at Mavs Moneyball start kicking off our kind of preseason coverage in the middle of the month, but I also may wait to see how far Slovenia gets and just wait until the World Cup is done. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Be safe. If you are celebrating, doing anything in Labor Day, barbecuing, that sort of stuff, don't be like me and, occasionally deal with flare-ups on the grill. It's not the best. All right, we will talk soon. Everybody have a great day.